Negotiations in Qatar between the Hamas Resistance movement and Israel have not progressed due to disagreements between both sides. During the 15th Foreign Ministers meeting of the East Asia Summit, nations were urged by Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi to resume openness, development, and communication. And in Venezuela, campaign activities ahead of the July 27 municipal elections move forward. Great Patriotic poll and opposition candidates to different municipalities of the country developing their campaigns. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the TeleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. Stay with us. Negotiations held in Doha, Qatar between Hamas Resistance movement and Israel to end the genocide in the Gaza Strip have stalled due to disagreements between both sides. According to Palestinian sources, the Hamas Resistance movement has opposed the withdrawal maps proposed by the Israeli army, as they would leave around 40% of the territory under occupation by the Zionist forces, including all of Rafah and other territories in the north and east of Gaza. This plan supposes to force hundreds of thousands of displaced Palestinians to move to a small area near the city of Rafah on the border with Egypt. In this regard, both sides are divided over the entry of humanitarian aid into the Palestinian enclave. Indirect talks are expected to continue on Sunday despite recent obstacles. And Palestinian authorities report that since the start of the latest conflict with Israel on October 7, 2023, some 58,000 people have been killed in the Gaza Strip. Local authorities in Gaza say that over the last few hours, fresh Zionist bombardments have killed more than 135 civilians and wounded another 425. Still, they point to the fact that there are still many victims trapped in the rubble, so the estimated death toll will rise. Since Israel resumed its genocide operations against the Gaza Strip following a ceasefire agreement in March 2025, almost 7,500 people, mostly women and children, have been killed. For its part, the Palestinian government denounced Israeli attacks against civilian areas in the Gaza Strip. The executive also rejected the forced displacement policies promoted by the Zionist government under the pretext of creating a humanitarian city south of the coastal enclave. Meanwhile, the urgent need for a ceasefire and guaranteed food supplies for the people of Gaza was emphasized. Meanwhile, the United Nations Relief and Work Agency for Palestine Refugees has warned of a new increase in child malnutrition in the Gaza Strip amidst a shortage of essential supplies. The international organization warned that Israel's restrictions on the entry of humanitarian aid, including food and medicines, are worsening the living conditions of the Palestinians. UNRWA urged the international community to guarantee the delivery of supplies and promote an end to the humanitarian crisis faced by Palestinians as a result of Zionist aggression. Also in Palestine, over 800 civilians were killed while trying to obtain food from distribution centers run by the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. These killings took place between May 27th and July 7th near the foundation sites. The United States and Israel-backed Gaza Humanitarian Foundation took over food distribution after Tel Aviv imposed a 2-month blockade on Gaza. However, violence is not restricted to Gazans. The Red Cross showed concern about an attack that wounded several of its workers and volunteers. In another tragic event, a person was beaten to death by Israeli settlers in Sijil, highlighting the region's escalating violence. And in Yemen, the government deemed the statements of the United Nations Special Envoy Hans Grundberg biased and omissive in the face of the Israeli regime's crimes against Gaza. The foreign ministry pointed out that Grundberg's statement ignores the real causes of the escalation, which are the Zionist aggression and genocide against the Palestinian people. They accused the envoy of omitting the Israeli violations and not condemning the occupation attacks on Yemeni territory. He reiterated that their actions in the Red Sea are a legitimate response to massacres in Gaza, which has been going on for more than 21 months. Yemeni armed forces clarified that their operations are only directed against ships linked to the occupation regime. And in Israel, thousands of citizens rallied in the center of the capital to demand that the government reach an agreement on a hostage exchange with the Palestine Resistance movement, Hamas. According to statements by demonstrators, there are currently 50 Israeli families held hostage in Gaza who will not be able to return home until Benjamin Netanyahu's regime agrees to a hostages exchange. Protests came amid reports of a stalemate in negotiations between the Israeli and Hamas delegations in Doha. According to a statement by the Israeli Hostages and Missing Families Forum, an absolute majority of the nation of Israel wants an end to the conflict in Gaza and the return of the hostages.
It is very important to
We continue with our news. Iran denies having received any offer from Russia to stop uranium enrichment. Local sources revealed that Moscow backed a proposal during the indirect talks between Tehran and Washington that suggested the transfer of enriched uranium. The proposal involved the transfer of enriched uranium about 3.67% from Iran to Russia as part of efforts to reach an agreement at that time. Also, Russian President Vladimir Putin stated on June 20th that his country supported Iran in defending its legitimate interests, including those related to peaceful nuclear energy. Let's now take our first short break. Remember, you can join us on TikTok at TeleSUR English, where you're going to find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. We're going to be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi urged East Asian countries to return to dialogue, development, and openness. During the 15th Foreign Ministers meeting of the East Asia Summit, the Chinese Foreign Minister urged all countries in the region to enhance understanding and trust, maintain peace and stability, and promote development and prosperity. He also made the suggestion of returning to dialogue, development, and openness. Regarding the Taiwan region, Wang Yi pointed out that the root of the tension in the Taiwan Strait is the secessionist actions on the island and external interference. The Chinese Foreign Minister also reiterated the country's firm position on the South China Sea disputes. Russia and China strengthened their trade and friendship relations following a meeting between the foreign ministers of both nations in Beijing. The head of Russian diplomacy, Sergei Lavrov, expressed his satisfaction with the unprecedented development of the relations between the two global powers. The bilateral talks took place within the framework of a meeting of the Council of Foreign Ministers of the member states of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization scheduled for this July 15th. Lavrov said that they will discuss issues related to a peaceful Asia and the role of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations and the BRICS groups in the region. And the main political forces of New Caledonia, together with the representatives of the French state, signed a project that seeks to establish a solution for the institutional instability of the overseas territory. The 13-page document addresses institutional, economic, and social issues. It states that New Caledonia will stay part of the French Republic. The agreement also allows Caledonia to have its own nationality alongside French nationality. The agreement must be approved by the New Caledonian inhabitants by 2026 and by the French Parliament for constitutional reform. Since 1853, France has been occupying militarily, exploiting economically, and oppressing culturally the original population of the island. In Bangladesh, heavy rains have caused flooding in the Feni district southeast of the country. Authorities report that despite a decrease in rainfall, some areas are still flooded, including the areas of Jagalnaiya and Sadar Upazila, where over 50,000 residents are affected and where the electricity supply has been cut off as a precautionary measure. Villagers say that the government's delay in starting rescue efforts is endangering civilians. And in the United States, in Arizona, Grand Canyon National Park visitors had to be evacuated due to the spread of wildfires. Local authorities said at least 500 tourists had to be evacuated due to the rapid spread of the flames, which have been affecting the state of Arizona for several days. According to reports, the wildfires have been only contained to a 15% after a lightning strike sparked the flames. Grand Canyon will remain closed until further notice to support firefighting operations and ensure public safety. The National Coordinator for Disaster Reduction in Guatemala continues to follow up and pay attention to the effects of the earthquake that occurred in the afternoon of Tuesday, July 8th. Through a statement, the entity presented the emergency figures recorded during the earthquakes, with the Capital Department being the largest number with 106 registered emergencies, followed by Zacatepeques with 64 and Esquintla with 58. Locations in which shelters were provided, evacuation teams deployed, and aid delivered. The Institute of Seismology, Volcanology, Meteorology, and Hydrology reported 748 seismic events since last Tuesday, 31 of which were sensitive, and the main one occurred on Saturday itself with a score of 5.6 in the Richter scale. And in Syria, in the face of the forest fire emergency in Latakia, several countries in the region joined the firefighting operations. Countries such as Lebanon, Turkey, and Qatar sent ground and air teams in a joint effort to control the emergency. Despite international support, the Syrian Civil Defense warned that the situation in the mountainous and forested areas of the northwestern province of Latakia is delicate due to the weather conditions and the risk of explosions by unexploded munitions, remnants of the armed conflict. So far, more than 37,066 acres of land have been affected by the flames. The United Nations is warning of worsening violence and new forced displacements in Haiti. UN High Commissioner Vina Shamdasani said that growing gang violence in Port-au-Prince, capital, has claimed over 1,000 lives and forced hundreds of thousands of civilians to flee their homes. The UN High Commissioner stressed that the increase in human rights violations by armed groups is worrisome. Shamdasani emphasized that the violations and abuses in Haiti demonstrate the urgent need for the international community to take action to put an end to such violence. We have our second break coming up. Before we invite you to visit our Facebook page at TeleSUR English, there you'll be able to watch our top stories, special live coverage, and much more. Follow our page and activate the notification button to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. A final short break, don't go away. Welcome back. In Venezuela, candidates of the Great Simon Bolivar Patriotic Poll continue the electoral campaigns for the municipal elections of next July 27th. Revolutionary people accompany the various mobilizations that took place throughout the country in support of candidates of the Great Patriotic Poll. Through the participatory and protagonist democracy, citizens will elect a total of 335 mayors and 2,471 councilmen with an equal number of alternates. Likewise, on July 27th, the first national popular consultation of the youth will be held, a unique project that identifies young people as main actors in the collective transformation of the nation. And the Venezuelan candidates of the opposition also started their electoral campaigns with their rallies and tours in different sectors of the country. Among them, the municipalities of Chacao, El Hatillo, Baruta, and the city of Maracaibo. Actors urged the population to participate in the municipal elections to be held next July 27 for mayors and councillors will be elected throughout the country. And in Chile, the leader of the far-right National Libertarian Party, Johannes Kaiser, made official on Saturday his candidacy for the presidential elections to be held next November. In his speech, Kaiser chose to despise once again the only candidate of the left, the communist Janet Jara. He unleashed a new controversy days before when he declared that he would support a coup d'etat like the one that brought to power the military junta led by Augusto Pinochet and that overthrew the democratic government of socialist Salvador Allende. Before a group of supporters, the candidate attacked his opponent Janet Jara, and he even lashed out at former socialist president Michelle Bachelet, with whom the media is already comparing Jara. Latin America commemorated 71 years since the death of Mexican surrealist artist Magdalena Frida Carmen Kahlo y Calderón, better known as Frida Kahlo. Born in Coyoacán, Mexico on July 6, 1907, daughter of photographer Guillermo Kahlo and Matilde Calderón, the artist was a member of the Mexican Communist Party, where she met her husband, also a plastic artist, Diego Rivera. Kahlo dedicated at least 150 works to her experiences, mainly self-portraits. She died at 47 years old after suffering a non-traumatic pulmonary embolism, leaving a legacy of freedom and dedication to art. And in Venezuela, Argentine retiree Vicente Batista won the Rómulo Gallegos Award for his book, The Simulacrum of Mirrors. The winner of the 21st International Rómulo Gallegos Novel Award was announced at the Venezuela 2025 International Book Fair. In his new book, the writer breaks the limits of realism and explores individual enigma and social function. The novel, set in an oppressive environment, explores the limits of freedom and control an individual against collective identity. Batista subtly combines social critique and existential mystery in a work that invites reflection. After the verdict, Batista thanked the court and condemned the media and the right-wing policies of the Argentine president Javier Milei.
The fact that they have chosen me, that they have chosen the simulacrum of mirrors, that novel that moves me as much as writing it, well, what can I say? It fills me with joy, makes me want to go on living and know that all is not lost. Even though at this moment in Argentina we are living through the most terrible of the ultra-right, the most terrible of a government that is systematically destroying culture, science, pensioners, students, everything. In spite of all that, we go on and celebrate this award. I celebrate it above all things.
In China were discovered several rock carvings that date back to approximately 900 years ago. The finding was possible due to a decrease in the water level at a reservoir in Chongqing municipality southwest of the country, offering a new perspective on ancient Chinese art. The carvings include religious and folk themes typical of the Buddhist rock art of the Song dynasty, which existed between the years 960 and 1279. These reliefs, found on a rocky wall, have 6 individual niches with 27 statues defined by their meticulous craftsmanship, which represents people standing, kneeling, and with sticks on their shoulders, a very particular vision of the civilization's Buddhist belief. And also in China, Harbin City develops an ice sculptures exhibition that offers visitors a winterly experience during the summer. This expo, which is part of the World of Ice and Snow theme park, covers an area of 23,000 square meters and presents thousands of sculptures made by more than 2,000 artists. The installation was completed on July 2024 using natural ice extracted from the Songhua River. Students of Harbin Normal University have been involved in the creation of national monuments carved out of ice, contributing to the promotion of ice and snow culture in the region. We have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. So join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thanks for watching.